today's topic is the power of transformative leadership. So thank you for everybody for being here. In terms of the agenda or what to expect for today, we will have a brief introduction to the Kind Power mission and a bit of history from me, from Juliana. Then Brander will also talk about her experience and her work in her regions. Um, we will have some interactive moments, so feel free to add your points or your voice is welcome there as well. And then at the end, we will have time for Q&A. So just be kind and respectful. If you're not speaking, please keep yourself on mute. And when we do have time for questions, please feel free to unmute and share when invited. And then you could use also chat for any reflections, questions, or asking for support. Okay. So a bit of background into the Kind Power. So it was founded by me in just 2025. It's a pretty new organization. And it was inspired by global work that I had done in the digital payments. So I was one of the executives at Apple, expanded Apple Pay globally. And also throughout a lot of my work within that space, I have seen a lot of inequity. And earlier this year, around March timeframe, I was invited to Argentina in Buenos Aires to present to women on financial independence. So it's actually it was a really interesting story. When I came to Argentina, I had to present in front of women, but when I got there, there were no women in the room, or just like a few women. Uh, and it was very surprising because I flew all the way to Argentina from the United States, and then there's like no women. But what was really endearing is seeing men in the room asking how they could help me to bring more women into the technology, into like more becoming more financially empowered. So that kind of gave me the idea to come back into United States and start looking how I could make this global socioeconomic impact and help to bring more women into technology, help them with becoming more empowered and healed from all kinds of situations they have been going through. So I came back to the United States. I created a Kind Power as a nonprofit organization. And the idea was to help with coaching, education, and community building. Originally in the United States, but now by partnering with different organizations similar to Meraki Action Initiative and other organizations globally, now becoming a more global movement. Just a bit about myself. So I actually grew up in a very like difficult situation. I come back from Soviet Union, where my family basically lost everything when the economy collapsed. We had no money for food, we had no toys and no security, and I had to learn how to survive myself. So back in the day, actually, as a kid, I sold fruit in the market, and even when I had a dream that I wanted to build a better future for children, so that we don't have to struggle like I did. So I came to United States at 19, and I only had $100 in my pocket. And in US terms, it's not much money at all. Uh, but I worked really hard and worked my way through tech, build a career from ground up, and raise to become a senior leadership to have a senior leadership role at Apple. And I'm also a CEO of a partner Ally, a technology company focusing on ethical use of AI, plus having my nonprofit called The Kind Power. Okay. Yeah, so if you look at my LinkedIn, my social media, everything looks great, but in reality, it was not an easy journey. So I'm comparing, I love this comparison between, the how we look on social media, but then we do have to go through a lot of battles. And for me, also the struggle was real. I had to face rejection, skepticism from investors. I have been in emotionally and financially abusive relationship. I lost a lot of money. I lost my confidence, my support system at one point. Basically, there was a moment in my life where I hit rock bottom, but I have decided to turn that pain into power and still continue to rise and rebuild my leadership and my vision from the ground up. And if you think about this situation, at the global scale, you'll realize that I'm not alone. Over 1 in 3 women globally experience violence. It's a lot of women. And usually women in this type of situation, they also don't have the control over their financial assets. They get restricted rights. We have all kind of barriers in terms of education, and they just like stuck in that cycle of vulnerability. There's still over 740 million women remain unbanked, so they don't even have a bank account. And if you look at all of the money in the world, of all of the global investment by venture capitalists or any type of like institutional investment, only 2% of all of the money goes to women-owned businesses, while 98% is still basically uh, initiatives that are funded, or owned by men. There is a huge gap in terms of access to education globally, digital and financial literacy, and a lot of resources they are lacking the trauma-informed approach. And then a lot of us victims, they also subject to fraud and scam, because usually the fraudsters they prey on the most vulnerable. But because all of this happening, like inequity, there is a bigger concern that actually because of lack of education and people having so much inequity, there is an impact on climate, on having a huge pollution problems. It's like entire ecosystems they lose uh, sustainable support. And then if you think again, coming back in terms of investment, there's less than 1% of all of the capital globally goes to address uh, any environmental or an issue which is related to socioeconomic impact, sustainability, or anything like related for good of humanity. Like we're we're supposed to think about how we build a better future, but less than 1% goes to support that. So it creates basically that systematic crisis in a world. And that's kind of what becomes the Kind Power mission, is to address those global inequities in capital, in access, in opportunity by transforming the barriers into empowerment for women and children and underserved communities as well. And we do that through healing, education, and innovation. And at the same time, we cannot do it alone. That's why we're bringing change makers like Brenda and other leaders within other countries, and amplifying those stories to create that meaningful impact and help shape our more equitable and sustainable future. And I'm super excited to have Brenda here today to support the mission, because she's the co-contributor of that Kind Power mission. Brenda is the founder and executive director of Meraki Action Initiative, and her leadership is an example of how compassion and resilience can rebuild a community from the ground up. Brenda, anything you would like to add about yourself?
Thank you so much, Juliana, for this kind introduction. I'm a midwife by profession and an advocate for education and gender equality. Having worked in remote communities of South Sudan and in the refugee settlement, my work experience has been so humbling enough that has shaped my vision to start Meraki and be able to work in my community so that I'm able to replicate the same services.
That's amazing. Thank you for everything you do, Brenda. So let's talk about leadership. I mentioned before that Brenda brings that leadership or commitment to serve into her community. But what actually leadership means to you? In my opinion, leadership is not a title, right? It's not something that we want to just say, oh, I'm a leader. Leadership comes with a lot of responsibility. And I will give you an example of my work, what I have done back at Apple. I had a team over 100 people. So basically, like that's where over 100 families that I was responsible for. But it's not just that. I had millions of dollars of budget to be responsible for. I had millions of customers to be responsible for and responsible for the experience. So if something goes wrong, I would be like my reputation would be on the line. My like I would be the one to respond why something went wrong, right? So it's yes, I was a leader and I had a lot of influence, but there was a lot of responsibility as well. So don't forget, like when you do have a leadership role, it comes with a lot of responsibility. Basically you responsible, not just responsible, like you basically your success depends on the success of your team. So what true leaders do, in my opinion, they help they maintain that foundation, they elevate the people, they and systems and outcomes, and that leadership or influence has to be earned through integrity and consistency. And it is the successful leadership. It is measured by the well-being and success of those you guide or of your team. So that's kind of what the leadership means to me. Brenda, do you have any examples or anything to add on this?
You should be able to identify problems and come up with solutions together with a team so that you're able to have your entire team engaged, then imposing yourself that you can handle it all by yourself. But if you involve the team, then everyone feels appreciated because uh, it's believed that everyone in your team has something to bring on board. So it's very important to appreciate everyone's gift and enable them to grow their talents and give them room to express openly and be able to give solutions that they think would resolve the issues that could be in existence.
Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. And actually, that kind of leads into our next slide. Power, what is power over versus power with and power to, right? And what Brenda just mentioned is power with, right? Like when we are working with the team uh, and sharing the decision making and collaborating on the results together. So it's basically creates a collaborative approach, and it's different from power over. Power over versus when, as a leader, you're trying to control everybody, you try to dominate. You instill that fear-based authority. Usually, you see this type of leadership in military-dominated countries or police or anything like where basically like you have type of leadership, but if you don't comply, you will like they will retaliate back. And it's different from power based. Like you don't have it fear based. Like you are in the same boat together, right? With the leader, you collaboratively working on a solution. And power two, it's also very important, and it's different from the two above items. This is when you empower your team. Like you're not trying to do everything yourself. You are enabling them to act. And then if you are, let's say, on vacation or like something happens, your team should be able to function without you. And you want to have this energy of expansion, right? Like you want to always grow and build together. So you have to kind of like empower your team to do more, right? You cannot be stuck in the same bubble all the time. So that's kind of like how power over, power with, and power two are different. And if you think about the leaders who actually shift from the approach of using power over to either power with or power two, we actually create a much more healthy and more resilient communities or team dynamic. Anybody wants to add anything on this?
Yes, power over is actually it's a very negative way of expressing power, and it's the kind of power that creates fear and silence. And as a leader, if you're expressing power over in your workspace, you end up building a team that is dependent on you. Things won't shift because you're not around. It's difficult for the team member to initiate and make a decision, even in your absentia. And then with power with, you're able to build trust, and there is teamwork, there is unity, because people take responsibility and are able to make decisions, independent decisions that would help things shift with or without the leader being around. Meanwhile, part two creates confidence, and people are able to innovate and sustain progress. So if you want to create a strong system within your workspace, it's very important that you practice power to and shift power to the people, so that your team knows that if I make this decision or if I take this step, my boss won't feel offended, or he will not think that we are in a competition for anything. But then the system is able to move with or without the leader being around. So in short, power over is controlling, and power with creates collaboration, and power two is definitely empowering. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. And I see Ajok having a hand raised. Is there something that you would like to add?
Yes, please. Good day, everyone on call. I'm called Ajok Lucky from Uganda. I am the founder of Actually Women in Health Foundation. It's a nonprofit that mainly works with medical practitioners. So, as for the topic, there's power over and power with. And for me, I think I would side with power over for that start, because as a founder of something new, so far 1 year, I've really had the privilege to work with very many people interested, wanting to join me, but you realize that everyone comes with a different direction, a different, like they want things to go in a different way. Like they don't have your vision. So for a beginner or a startup or someone who's just starting their organization, I think it would be better to decide on most of the things, because you're the vision bearer, you're the one who has the direction of the organization or the group going. So power with would not really make a lot of sense for me right now, and power over would really, it's what I'm using, and I feel like things are still going on in the right direction. I don't know whether I'm building a system or people are just following before I do them. So yeah, that's my submission. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, maybe there's a bit of confusion here. I think you're still doing everything right. So power over or like power with, in the beginning, like you are as a leader supposed to set the vision. That's your absolutely, it's your job. And then we'll go through a bit more in the details about accountability and influence. So I think what you establishing your influence in the beginning. You're not saying like, oh, if you don't do as I say, I'm gonna kill you, right? Or I'm gonna like fire you. You don't do that, right, in the beginning. But you are still establishing your influence. So it's fine to do that in the beginning. Think about like, and as we go through the slides, how you would shift your vision from power over to more power with and power to in the future, versus trying to like be dominant or controlling everything. And in general, with the power over, if you continue to try to control everything and instill fear-based authority, what happens when people stop being afraid of you, or they could be waiting for a very, very long time, like, and then they just burst, right? They burst because they cannot control themselves anymore. Then everything just falls apart. So that's why it's really important to look, yes, establish the vision, establish the ground rules, right, and make sure you keep people accountable, but also find a way to make sure that your team still feels empowered to support you. Okay. So it's actually, this is a good one. How misuse of power actually harms the communities, because we mentioned, that you do have the power over control or trying to instill fear that creates that potential risk, creates fear. Also, if you misuse the power, it creates mistrust. Also, people could withdraw, as I mentioned before. Like if they are afraid of you, they could be just like sitting silently, not saying anything until something happens. It basically silences their voice, and this type of misuse of power, it does not allow for innovation to grow. It leads to burnout, it leads to trauma, it creates like a very toxic environment at work or in a community. It basically like does not allow for long-term organizational stability. And what happens, like the most vulnerable members of your community, this type of misuse of power impacts them the most. Do you, Brenda, or anybody else, do you have any examples where you have seen where power was misused? Or what do you think about this topic?
I'll speak in perspective of gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence that are happening in rural communities, especially where we work. So misuse of power happens where a girl is sexually abused, and because we're in a patriarchal society, the male guardians or parents at home decide on behalf of the girl that she will be married off, and then justice is not sought. So family decides on behalf of the girl that she gets married, and that's how she gets to lose her future. So I think misuse of power comes where the men think they should be making decisions on behalf of the girls, and somehow how they feel and how they want the issue handled is never considered, and it's never asked. Her opinion is never even put into consideration. So people decide and everything is done without their consideration, which
Yeah.
has destroyed the community, because we end up with very many teenage mothers, single mothers, and who have little access or no access to education, which has perpetrated the cycle of poverty.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing this up. You're absolutely right. Like misuse of power in the family dynamic, right, or community dynamic, that could be very, very toxic and create generational trauma. I have seen you have a raised hand. Do you have anything to add to this?
Yes. Thank you so much. I hope can I be heard? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear.
Okay, all right, thanks. So in relation to bullet number 2 that you've shared, that it silences voices and reduces innovation. I think for me, I've seen this workspace where or has a different opinion to a subject issue, and because the leader is feeling so powerful, does not respond in a way that
You're breaking.
motivates the staff to speak more, or hears and promises to do it. So staff eventually different opinion that could have increased productivity, or
Yeah, we lost Cindy. I think she had an issues. Cindy, you were breaking up, so we could also use the chat if you want to put your comments in the chat, and I could read them over since you have audio breaking up. Sounds good? Can you guys hear me? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. And we can come back, Cindy, once you put your point on the chat, we can come back to that. So next point is on building leadership character, right? It's really important to have that character as a leader and that actually would inspire trust among the community. And as part of building that character, it's really important to have the integrity. And this is where you as a leader are responsible to do what is right, even when nobody can see that. As a leader, we have to make a lot of decisions in the background, some tough decisions that may not be going on LinkedIn, or, not be celebrated, but it's just important to continue to do what's right for your people, for your community. It's really important to be transparent. And communication is a key, or open communication, basically because it creates that psychological safety. It's important to be consistent because this is when it creates that reliability and makes your people feel secure. And another point on humility. Humility is also very important for a leader because if you think about it, everybody makes mistakes. There's no situation where you will never make a mistake. You will make a mistake as a leader. Your team will make a mistake, or anybody in your proximity could make a mistake. But it's really important to learn from those mistakes, acknowledge them, and learn from them. And if we don't ever make mistakes, then we never learn. So mistakes are good, but the way you handle as a leader, that's really important. And I would also say that courage and stand up for your team and for your values is also very important. This is what inspires trust, because when the situation is tough, and you may get external pressure by another organization, by another leader, or from the above. You need to stand up for what is right and stand up for your people. This is when it creates a situation that people will follow you and they will trust you as a leader. Okay, and I see Cindy was sharing comment in the chat at the workplace. Abuse of power moves people to a space where people don't express their opinion. They just move with the flow. As a matter of fact, they have resigned, but just there for the money. Then the organization loses a big deal from the innovative minds of such people. You're absolutely right. Yeah, like when you don't empower the right people, and this could be the brightest mind on a team or in a community, they just leave the community, and it's not good because you lose that innovation, you lose that growth perspective on a team or in a community. Anything else on the trust from the folks on the call? Okay, so moving on leading through influence, not intimidation. This is very similar to the first slide about, or the second slide of power over. I joke that that's a bit more related to what you have been mentioning. But in the beginning, or like in general, actually throughout the journey, you have to build the influence. And it's different with, from control, uh, because when you are an influencer yourself, that creates that voluntary fellowship where intimidation just builds compliance. So continue to influence your team, continue to inspire your team, because that's your job throughout the entire leadership journey. Emotional intelligence, and it is very different from, instilled fear or intimidation. And emotional intelligence is not very easy to build, but it's basically you have to inspire for clarity of vision, build that credibility, and be very authentic, be original. And then influence, if you do it right, it empowers others to lead as well. Because in the future, like when you, let's say you have expanded your organization or expanded your outreach, you cannot do everything alone, right? You need to build other leaders reporting to you. And if you don't build the leaders and just have intimidation on a team, we will never be able to lead, or we will never be able to have that organization of influencers. And it's really important to mention that you have to earn the respect of your team or of all of your partners. You cannot just demand the respect because you're a leader. Anybody else wants to add on this? Any additional comments, examples?
Yes. I think emotional intelligence comes in with conflict resolution as well. A lot of times when there is a conflict at a workspace, many bosses don't handle it very well. It's handled with a lot of disrespect, humiliation that makes it difficult for your team sometimes to admit their mistakes when they've made it. And I'm thinking good leadership can be expressed when you handle disagreements with empathy and ensuring that the other person maintains their dignity. We can still disagree, but respectfully disagree and find a common ground to resolve the conflict.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for bringing this up. Actually, debates within the organization are very, very healthy, but it should be a debate which is handled with emotional intelligence, just like Brenda mentioned. Coming back to Apple and my days, like when I was a senior leader building the Apple Pay technology, we basically promoted the debates. I want to have on a team other opinions because this is how we grow, right? Like we want to brainstorm and discuss new ideas. But if you don't have the culture on the team where every opinion is welcome, we will never bring up those great ideas, right? They will keep them to themselves, will be afraid to share those ideas. This way, you never grow, you never learn, you never innovate. So thank you, Brenda, for bringing this up. It's really important to have that emotional intelligence of handling the debates or other opinions on the team. And very similar to, next topic, how do you create inclusive, trauma-informed environments as well? Because not every single person is the same. Every person in your community, on your team, they come from different backgrounds. Not just, men versus women. You could have folks that have been through very traumatic experience, and they could have all kind of triggers. So it's really important to lead with empathy, patience, and curiosity as well, because you want to make sure that everybody on your team or within your community, they have that emotional and psychological safety during all of your interactions. And it's important to use the language and actions that empower rather just create more trauma for the team. So if you are speaking with your teammate and you're using the language or like trying to, retaliate for something they have done or something, that they mentioned, or even, idea which is different from yours, that will only create fear, and it will create more trauma and negative toxic environments on your team. So please continue to encourage diverse perspective and bring, have folks that bring their lived experiences, because that usually creates that innovation and just makes your community way stronger. Anything to add on this one from folks on the call?
Sorry, I joined the discussion late. I'm called Dr. Guang Oscar. I'm a surgeon by specialist. Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. What I'm trying to conceptualize is that difference between a leader and a manager. I think most of us from our training, we were trained to become managers, not leaders. What I've appreciated is that with the leaders, I mean, they mind so much about the action. Yeah, they're not, most of them are not so much traumatizing as compared to manager. So to me, I would think that maybe all managers should be trained in some leadership skill so that they're able to manage the organization with that skill. That's what I've learned from this interaction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's such a great point, because I have seen this even in the United States, where people are promoted within an organization, but they have never been taught leadership skills, right? So because basically in this case, like, they become a manager, so trying to influence people without any training. I see Ocean also raised hand. Would you like to add something?
Yes, for sure. And thank you very much for the discussion, Tim. Very illuminating to listen in leadership. It sounds very simple, but when you pay attention, you realize that all of us could lead better, could have led better even. My point of interest on this very slide is on the trauma-informed environments. And I see that every single day in different spaces that we lead in, and we have a tendency of thinking, oh, it's unless you have a high position or rank, then that makes you a leader. I think we all lead every day, willingly or unwillingly. There's someone looking up to you. And so we need to make conscious choices with empathy. And so there's a tendency, or when you're in a certain space, we actually re-traumatize. I've learned this today, that we re-traumatize. You mention things that you think actually may be funny, or you say them because you want to identify with the group in the room to make sure they feel like you know something about them. You could mention something, oh, I was a refugee. I ran and hid under, I slept on the streets. You could say that jokingly if, for example, you're working with people who have experienced conflict, to try and identify with them, not knowing that you're actually re-traumatizing some of them. And we do this, we never think this is harmful, We think it's harmless. We think, oh, it's cool to actually make them know I actually went through something like this. Or you could say, I also lost my mom. I lost my parents at a young age. When you're speaking to people who have probably experienced a pandemic of HIV, I'm now talking of the Ugandan context in such a community where you know that HIV has ravaged through families and communities. And you know that most of the families are orphaned or they didn't grow up with both parents. And then we say that to identify with them and make sure they feel like you also know something, you know, to make them feel like you're part of them. So this is a very, very powerful topic. And I want to just say thank you for opening my eyes to this. And then my question then is, how do we not re-traumatize communities and people that we're speaking to or leading? How do we become more empathetic? Is this just being aware? Are there things we could do? I don't know how to deal with this because sometimes it comes unconsciously.
Yeah.
Like I said, yeah, thank you. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is such a great question. What I have learned as being as a leader back in organizations where I worked, the rule number one is always know your audience. You have to know your audience and know them well, know your team, right? Know your community, know what triggers them, and be mindful of that. And it takes extra work, right, to know everybody or to know your team, but it will be rewarding in the end because you will be mindful of the things you say, of the, mindful of your actions and how you could potentially traumatize somebody. So, let me know if anybody else has anything else to, any other ideas how this could be addressed. And I see Dr. Oscar has also raised hand.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a slide talking about the communication skill, because from experience, I learned that sometimes leaders, if they don't have a good communication skill, they may end up failing to resolve maybe conflict within an organization. So it is very important for leaders to have the communication skill. Then I learned a lot of things from what happened recently in my training. I had some issue with one of the lecturer, but I learned that sometimes humility is the best way of resolving conflict, because the person whom I've been working with or who has been supervising me as my supervisor, I think he lacked the communication skill, and that and that made me to misinterpret his action. So I think it's also good for leaders to have a good communication skill. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're absolutely right. It's not just communication skills, like it's like actually mindful communication, right? Like it's an art. And that's why leaders usually get paid a lot because they have to master the communication and they have a responsibility to support and serve their team or community. Okay, I have a couple more hands. Ajok and Brenda, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So I wanted to say something about Ocean's question, how we can handle people without having them re-traumatized. I think we should give room for people to tell their stories the way they want to be heard. It would also be very insensitive of us to not let them say anything at all. It's empathetic to find out what their stories are and give them room to say it as they feel they would want to be understood. And as we listen, we should be non-judgmental, and even as we probe, we need to extend a lot of empathy so that they feel heard and their feelings are validated.
I love this comment. Let me just add a bit more to that. So actually, communication could be could go both ways. And it's really important as a leader to have good listening skills, right? And because if you don't listen, to how your team reacts, how your team feels, like you will never able to respond properly. When you do ask somebody on your team to express, their opinion or their story, you have to be mindful in terms of privacy. uh, Make sure like you don't put a person on a spot in a big group and tell them, oh, tell me your entire story. You need to ask that person if that person wants this information to be shared or kept in private, or if this type of information should be discussed in private. So you have to be very mindful in terms of privacy when you do have those people share those stories. Ajok, do you have something to add as well?
Yes, please. From what is being shared, I feel like it's a package. It's like a soft skill package whereby communication alone is not what causes or what the best way to handle a traumatic environment or people who are already pre-traumatized. And by soft skill, it's like handling a patient. A patient comes to you, yes, communication is among them, but then how are you going to react to that patient? Like, for example, one of your team members comes to you with a suggestion, and instead of you listening to them, you just brush them off. The next time they'll not come, that's already a trauma. But then if you give them chance to talk and listen to them, yeah, then apart from communication and hearing from them, your body reactions, there's a way, yes, you're communicating well, you're talking well, but then your body language, you're not smiling, you're putting on that rude face, you're unapproachable. People are just like, you cannot go to that lady, you cannot approach that man. So it will keep people away from you, that anytime someone wants to approach you, they'll just be like, you cannot go to that face, you cannot go to that person. So I feel like soft skill is like a thing you practice every day. There are those days you're in your mood, you're really jolly to everyone, you're approachable, you're listening, and you're communicating well. But then there are those days that you're really in the bad mood, things have gone wrong, the deals are not closing, the partners are not showing up, yet you need a lot of fundings. But still, there's an employee who wants to approach you. Are you just going to turn down the whole day just because you're in your bad moods? No. So I feel like these are things we have to practice every day as leaders, and over time we may get there too. Whether it's a bad or a good day, you're still welcoming to people, you're still approachable, and you're still able to talk well to people. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, thank you so much for bringing this up. Another good point on this, you cannot become everybody's therapist as well, right? Because otherwise, you will not have time to do any of your other job. So when you do have basically a lot of people to report to you, you need to create structure. Like, for example, when I had a huge team at Apple, I had a structure where Friday, I allocate 30 minutes to each person to have one-on-one with me. I would do the rest of my work during the rest of the week, focusing on, executive execution, creative thinking, all type of other meetings. But Friday was my day for all of the one-on-one meetings. And I would make sure that my calendar is blocked for that. And I would also have my team prepare, like every single person would prepare what do they want to talk to me about, because my time is also valuable. So you need to make sure that you create structure, and also like while still being open, while still have basically a way to listen to your team, but you need to make that it also does not consume you or overwhelm you, or does not allow for any of your own leadership work to be done. So just make sure you add structure to that. Okay. This is a great next topic on accountability with empathy. You know, because coming back to structure, you cannot just have like always, you know, like open door without any clear expectations. Your team is there to do the job. You cannot like you make sure that basically you establish clear expectations, but don't communicate like, oh, if you don't do this, like you will be ashamed or you will be punished, right? Like that's not a good practice as a leader. But if do issues come up, you need to make sure that you address those issues early, but you do that with compassion and direct communication. Don't shame that person in front of many other people. Take them into that one-on-one discussion and address that issue as early as possible. You need to separate the behavior from the person itself. Sometimes like that behavior could be a trigger, right, to something that you have done or somebody else has done. So you need to separate that from the person and personality. Support your member in terms of growing and learning and repairing if something was done. Help them to repair the damage or address and learn from the mistake. So when you do have an empathetic approach, that creates accountability, but it does not replace that. So accountability is still very, very important. You cannot just have free run for all on a team. You need to make sure that they still have expectations, they do their job, and you support them in doing so. Anything to add on this one? Okay. And that basically, creates you, a leader, as or creates this kind of leadership as a service, because the leaders, they are not again, just having a title. They are there to support the mission and support the people. And then you do have a service-oriented leadership that creates loyalty and engagement on the team. Always ask as a leader, who can I support instead of what can I control? And empower others to succeed through resources, guidance, and advocacy. And when you do have a service mindset, that will transform the culture of your organization from the inside out. And I see coming here from Cindy in the chat, I find leadership by influence to bring more productivity, and it is more sustainable beyond the contract period. So yeah, very good point. Thank you, Cindy. Okay. And the last point here, empowering others to rise with you. That's really important as well. Share the opportunities, help them grow, not just give the instructions, like let them learn themselves. Help people to develop their strengths and confidence. It's really important. And it's also really important to celebrate the achievements of folks on your team. Not just your own, right? Make sure give the kudos to all of your team members or other leaders within your organization. Create that system basically where the leadership is shared. It's not centralized. Like you're not the only leader on a team. Create a team of leaders, but do the same, right? And they empower others within your team. And then one person rises, they all rise. They build the pathways and not pedestals. Basically, like if you have like a lot of people in the organization, if your team levels up, you level up as well. So think about all of us, that way, instead of just like leveling up yourself. Anybody else wants to add on this one? Okay.
Yes. I think here empowering others means sharing the tools that they need. Sometimes some leaders can be so controlling that resources are available, but it's kept in a cupboard, it's kept in an email, and people live in the limbo and not knowing what to expect. So it would be very great to share tools and resources so that people are able to learn and know how best to do their job. And just like you said, if your team levels up, you level up as a leader as well. So sharing the tools makes it more easy for you as a leader, because it may relieve you of a lot of burnout and tasks as well, because there are tasks assigned to you as the leader, but then you could easily delegate to your juniors, and that's how they get to learn. So
Yeah.
we should be in those positions with the expectations of knowing that we can move to the next position at any time. So it's not selfish, it's not threatening to hand tools to your juniors or to the people that you lead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Such a great point. I have seen, well, managers, not leaders, right? I have seen managers who are intimidated to help anybody on their team because they feel that if they help other members of their team, that team or that person can take their job away from them. And that's why they would not share the resources, or they would not help anybody on their team to grow, because they have that fear that they're going to lose their management position. Those are not leaders. And I think somebody mentioned earlier, right? Like that kind of what differentiates leader from a manager. Manager would be afraid to lose the job and would not share or empower others. But leader would do opposite. Leader would always empower and support the team. And I will tell you this, I had team members that I coached and helped them grow throughout the years. And I have changed organizations over the years as well. But the same people, they followed me from company to company, from organization to organization. And even when I left company, they are still my friends and they still watch my leadership. That's what true leadership is, like when your people will follow you and do things to support you no matter what. But this is the type of leader you want to become. Okay. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do with the kind power. We're kind of like wrapping up here. We're trying to build a purpose-led team. Again, like I'm not trying to do everything alone. So if you want to join us, please feel free to do so. We're growing our community. We're building partnerships that expand our impact and reach. We're forming global alliances with mission-aligned organizations such as Meraki Action Initiative. And we're asking for grants in US, sponsorships, and sharing the resources among all of the leaders, and trying to amplify the stories of all of the leaders globally, because we're all here for the same mission to make our future, for the kids and our planet a better place for us all. So we're all here on a mission. So this is some information about the kind power, our website, email. Feel free to reach out or send me a LinkedIn message to join our community. I see here a question, actually a perfect time for the questions from Lucy. Good evening. How can a leader make decisions confidently, especially in uncertain situations? Great question. This is a tough one because you may have a very tough situation. You don't know what's going to happen, right? And sometimes you have to look, not just calculate the risks and weigh different options, but sometimes you have to follow your intuition. But it's also know that it's okay to make a mistake. And that's why it's so important to build an organization from and lead with influence and compassion, but in case you end up making a mistake or decision that kind of really tough, your team will still support and follow you. And sometimes it's also good to be transparent. Bring your team along or your leaders along and discuss, like, these are different options that I have on my plate. How do we make the right decision in this situation? So bring them along, and then in that case, like if the it may not end up the best decision, at least like you still have your team of supporters, or your team is still on your side because now you have made that collective decision. Did I answer your question, Lucy?
Yes, you've answered. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I just wanted to add on to that a bit, that even when you're making decisions in uncertain situations, ensure that you maintain your integrity. Do not lie just to make sure you're giving a response, because by the end of the day, there is you that people still have to believe in. So for you to maintain that trust from your team, ensure you've maintained your integrity even when you're making such tough decisions.
Yeah, do what's right. Always do what's right. And actually, I see Cindy mentioned the same comment. If the motive is right, go ahead. If you fail, you own up and try again. If you win, you create something new. Absolutely right. Like sometimes you do fail, you make a mistake, but you have to own that, right? Own the mistake that you have made and learn from that, and then try again. And then, this is like in many cases how innovation is born, by making mistakes and trying again, and you building something innovative that nobody else was able to make in the past. Any other comments or questions? We're a couple minutes over the time. Okay, so looks like no more questions. Thank you so much, everybody. It was such a great discussion. I'm so proud of all of you. You're such amazing leaders for being here and trying to learn and discuss how to even become better leaders. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. We have this recorded. We'll post on YouTube and share. And also try to share some of the lessons learned from this discussion on LinkedIn as well. So thank you again for all the support. Stay in touch, and let's have more discussions like that in the future.
Sure. Thank you so much, Juliana, for creating time to do this with us. I've had so much to learn and unlearn, and we should do more so that we can transform our communities with kindness and empathy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank